Boruto episode 102 Melee. So this episode, it made a lot of people angry. I was reading some of the comments after I watched the episode on Verve, and a lot of people were upset with this episode because it was basically Katana and Suigetsu not really being like, super OP and being able to actually fight and stuff like that. It was like, how are they having these characters who, help fight against Killer B, and Suigetsu's being taken out by a taser. People were surprisingly mad about Katana. I'm like, she's never been anything great. Like, Katana is legitimately the embodiment of all the crap that people say about Sakura. Like, it legitimately fits, Katana. Like, she was there to help Sasuke, heal, and she had her weird, like, pseudo-orgasms every time he bit her. And that was it. That was her whole thing, and that was it. So I was kind of surprised that people were like, these are characters that did this. And oddly enough, I feel like it makes perfect sense. Like, the whole episode I was watching it, I was like, okay, this happens. I felt like it was a perfect fit for these characters. Like, people thought it was super lame because they should be, like, way stronger and stuff. And I'm like, admittedly, they've never been that strong of characters. Like, they are, especially, not Katana. She was always meant to be, like, a support character. And for Suigetsu, he's fairly tough. He's definitely had, like, his own thing. And he's got, they even reference it, the fact that he's got, like, a weird, unique jutsu with this whole water deal. But they've done that before. Like, it wasn't legitimately, like, surprise you were hit with the taser, but they've done it before where I can't remember who the heck it was, but somebody was like hitting him with lightning where he literally like could not form or something like that. I can't remember, but there was something like that, and that was like the only other time I think that's ever happened where it was like he was legitimately taken down like permanently. Like, they kept just zapping him to where like he couldn't actually like reform his body. And it may not have been electricity. I feel like it was electricity, but there was like something to it where he couldn't fight back. Like, they just kept hitting him. And I was like, okay, it makes sense. Like, if he's hit with a taser, of course he's going to be taken down. Like, it's a taser, especially considering his character is, like, the weird thing with him, being water and all that stuff. Also, the fact that admittedly, he was drugged. So it was like, it wasn't just the fact that he got hit with a taser. I'm like, this dude was drugged. Like, he and Boruto were both drugged. And as he was, trying to do the thing, where his hand was, like, made of water and he was trying to, like, unlock the thing for a Jugo, that's when he first got hit with the taser, and then the same thing happens later when he, like, blocks the punch that, I think, Tokasa, I still forget how to pronounce that guy's name, but when he tries to hit Boruto after he's unlocking Jugo, which, it was really funny, like, when that scene happened, I was like, why is he trying to do that? Like, he's just gonna bust out, and that's exactly what happened. Like, as soon as Jugo went a little bit further than transformation, he just broke out of it anyway, and I was like, of course that was gonna happen. Like, I guess it makes sense he was trying to do it faster, but, during that scene, Suigetsu gets hit again with the taser, and I was like, for me, I thought that made perfect sense. I'm like, yeah, he'd be taken down by a taser, like they all would. Like, excuse me, it's the exact same thing. Like, they fight with kunai all the time. They're just little daggers, but if they get hit, the characters die. Like, it's a legit thing. Like, it makes perfect sense. Like, as over the top as the series is, if people get stabbed, they get stabbed. Like, that's just how the show works. So if you get hit by a taser, it doesn't matter how strong you are. Of course you're going to be taken down, and it makes even more sense, with it being Suigetsu and him basically like being made of water or whatever the weird deal is with his character. So personally, I thought it made perfect sense for the episode. I'm sure, like I said, people were like, these are characters that go through like the Great Ninja War and stuff like that. Although I honestly can't remember a single effing thing that either of those characters did. Like, nobody did anything during the Great Ninja War out of Team Taga except for Sasuke. Like, they went with him to get like the scroll and stuff like that with Orochimaru and all that. But I swear to God, they didn't fight. Like, I don't think they fought one single battle during the Great Ninja War. Like, if you go back and like, well, I'm sure it's the same in the anime as well, but I remember reading the manga, and it was like, it probably had to be like chapters and chapters. It was probably like over a month. Like, it was probably like 2 full months or something. And this is, a weekly series. It was probably like over 2 months before it was like, hey, here's Team Taka again. And they were with Orochimaru, they pull Orochimaru out and stuff. But once they left after, I think it was like after the Sasuke Itachi fight with, what's his name? I can't even remember, at Kabuto. After that fight, I think they were gone for like almost a month or something, or 2 months or something insane in the universe of the manga, because they had so many other fights going on. It was like, all right, they traveled to do something. And so we don't see them do anything. And then I think once they got that and they brought back the Hokages, I think they literally just teleported to the battlefield, and I don't think they took Suigetsu or Karin or Jugo with them. It was just Sasuke and Orochimaru and the 4 Hokage. And it was like, yeah, they didn't actually do anything during the battle. Like, I don't think they were there during the Five Kage Summit either, because somebody mentioned that, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that was Sasuke all by himself. So these are characters like they helped fight Killer Bee. That's like the one thing they did, and even that was like, well, technically it was like it's Sasuke and Jugo are like the powerhouses of Team Taka, and then Suigetsu comes in there and he's like he's that balanced character where he's not super strong but he's also got the other skills, and then Karin is like way on the end of just full support mode. So for me it just made sense. I was like, yeah, this works for the episode because they weren't that strong. If it was in reverse and it was, like Jugo was one of the people, but he was getting beat up a bunch or he got taken down by a taser, I'd be like, yeah, I don't think that would work for his character because he would just go like crazy and go into curse mark mode, or they would just do it where he doesn't, which would be kind of annoying, where it's like I can't lose control and stuff, so I just have to like take the hit even though he could get out of it. That would have been like, okay, I can see people being upset, but it's like Suigetsu, of course, would get taken down by it, and then Karin was never that strong to begin with, so it was like, for me, I thought the episode made perfect sense. I was like, yep, he was drugged, and he got tased while he was drugged, then he got tased again, like, he was still technically drugged, like, all he could do was summon, like, that one arm, like, it got, for whatever reason, Boruto was able to get up because he's the main character. And Suigetsu was kind of like still on the ground trying to kind of rework himself because they were doing that weird thing where he's like kind of melting and falling into like a puddle of water. So I was like, oh, that scared the crap out of me. Something fell off my wall. But it was like, yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. But I enjoyed the episode myself. It was actually a decent just fight episode. The action wasn't over the top awesome or anything like that. They did some cool stuff. Admittedly, the coolest thing was probably the fact that Karin did like the jutsu chains, and I was like, oh, that's cool because it was like Kushina did when she would trap when she was like helping Naruto fight Kurama and like kind of gain control over him. It's an Uzumaki technique, and I was like, well, that's actually that's pretty sweet. I thought that was actually super cool. So I was like, oh, we actually get to see Karin do the chains, and it makes sense. Like for people who are like just watching the show, I guess like newer viewers, that was crazy. But I was like, oh, that's super cool. Like she used that technique that we're familiar with because it's an Uzumaki technique. So I thought that was entertaining. I really enjoyed that scene. Sada was super cool. Like her, them fighting the girl who basically looked like a weird mix between a velociraptor and like a deer or an antelope. I think it's more appropriate. It was a decent fight. They go through and it's like, oh crap, she's super fast. Sadara dodges the first punch and she gets knocked down. Karin has to use her skill to like see where she's going to be coming from and stuff. And then she hits her with the chains and it's like, all right, you need to like bite me and so that you can heal up and stuff like that. And then she socks the crap out of her. And that was the other thing that I thought was super weird. When they beat both the twins, the way they do it is like they punch them. I guess they just punch them so hard that the bracelet breaks. But I was like, she punched the girl in the face and it like shattered the bracelet. And I was like, I feel like that doesn't make sense. And they kind of did the exact same thing with the boy when Nue like charges him. I felt like that made a bit more sense. I guess you could kind of say he was a bit closer, but it was just like either way, it doesn't really make sense. Like they didn't actually go for the actual bracelet. And then they just happened to do a really strong hit that sent them flying, and that just shattered the bracelet. I was like, that kind of doesn't make any sense. Like, they were taking some decent hits beforehand, and, it didn't seem to really do much. At least the guy was. Like, they were, throwing, like, a couple of hits here and there, but it would just be, like, one strong hit, and it just, like, shattered the bracelet, and I'm like, or the necklace, I'm saying bracelet, but it's just, like, that doesn't really make any sense whatsoever. Like, it would have made sense if that was, like, oh, we have to take out the bracelet and stuff, or the necklace. I don't know why I was going with bracelet, but we had to take out the necklace. And it would have made sense if Sada like just punched it and like she hit, she would have shattered the thing. Plus, she would have like hit her like straight in the neck and taken her down. And the same for Nue, like if he jumped and like bit at it or something and then did some weird, I don't know, monster move. I don't know. But I was like, that's weird. They were doing like normal hits and there was no sense of strategy. Like, oh man, that's their source of power. Let's go after that. Little stuff. It was just like Sumini not biting Karin in the last episode because I'm like, this whole thing, they were like, oh man, my jutsu and stuff, and Nue came out super tiny, and I was like, that's probably because she didn't bite Karin on the arm when they went into this insane battle where it's like, we don't know what's really going to happen, we're going to do this and do that. It's like, why didn't it still comes into effect in this episode? And I didn't think that would happen. I was like, all right, it'll be, it's a one-off thing that was really dumb that they should have put in there. And it's like, nope, that actually, what they skipped over in the last episode completely affected this one, where it's like, yeah, if Sumini bit Karin's arm, she would have been at full strength. She would have had all of her jutsu back and everything, and she would have been able to summon Nue like super strong from the very beginning of that fight, and they could have ended that faster. And it was just like, yep, it went from one dumb thing in the last episode to like an actual domino effect into this one, where it's like she would have had the strength if they had her, bite Cunningh's arm. And I was like, that's just so stupid. Like, it's just the dumbest thing. It's like, it makes literally no sense, especially considering they even referenced it in the last episode when she was unconscious. And I'm like, this is really dumb. Like, it makes no sense. It just made it a longer fight, which I like more action, so it was cool. But considering they were fighting in character with, like, the curse mark plus the other girl, Namida and Wasabi were already down for the count for like half the battle anyway, it made sense. Like, it still technically would have worked. They could have just been like, all right, they can't beat him where it's just Sumini and Nue. So, just do it where they end up winning the fight after the other girls get healed. Or, it still kind of takes the same pace where it's like, all right, we went through, we don't know exactly how to do it. And instead of, them succeeding in the first fight, they just do exactly what they did anyway. It was like, all right, we have to just give all of our chakra to Nue and just have them like go in as like just a crazy over the top battle. Because they take Namida and Wasabi's chakra, they look super high in that scene, which I thought was so funny. Like, somebody would look at them and they were just like they were just high. I thought that was so funny that they drew the animation, they drew it that way. I was like, okay, they could have found a way to totally make that work, but I still enjoyed the action. I thought it was cool. It's always awesome seeing Sato use the Sharingan, so that's really cool. And honestly, I'm super excited when they actually get to the point where she has like the two little pieces in her eye. I forgot what those are called. Like, that's an actual thing. Like, the little symbol has got like an actual title to it. But it'll be cool to see when she actually gets like unlocks the second stage of that. So I'm looking forward to that. Like, I really thought about it in this episode. I was like, man, I can't wait till she gets to the second stage of this and she can, see things even better. So, looking forward to that way down the line. But I like the episode. Decent combat. Not really much to it. Admittedly, they had the fight scenes. They beat the twins. Mitsuki finds Konohamaru, so now they have the plan to go to, like, this boat dock or whatever. And it's like, all right, well, we go take those guys out. Whatever's there will probably help us save everybody else. So that's what we're going to see them do in the next episode. The twins are down, so I would assume everyone's going to end up going back to the camp and possibly rescuing Boruto, Jugo, and Suigetsu. Of course, in the promo, Jugo officially like goes insane, so we'll see how that plays out. I would assume he's going to beat the F out of the doctor because he's like, oh man, like, check it out. I perfected it all along. Pretty nice little moment at the end because they were going to kill Jugo because it was like, this wasn't a part of the plan and stuff, and he wanted to test his strength against Jugo. I think Jugo's going to kill him. That's just my guess on it. I think he's going to get murdered, and then they're going to have to stop the birds and stop Jugo. But the doctor will basically just get pummeled, and that'll be it. Because he's got one arm. Like, I thought it was cool. I did like the design. Where he's like, check it out, I perfected it, and the mark was, like, only on half of his face, and he had, like, the dark iris and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty sweet. It took me back to, like, old school Sasuke when he, like, first got the curse marker, like, first did level 2 and stuff, and like his eyes change colors. I always thought that was actually a sweet design, and it was cool to see it in that form where he was still in his human form, but the eye was different because that was like super early Sasuke where he had like zero control over anything, and he was just like, I don't know what's happening, and his body would change like at random. So I was like, that's cool. It takes me back a little bit, but I'm excited to see this next episode. It seems like they're ending it soon, so, and I mentioned this the last time, but for the new opening, if, this is the end of this, the next episode is going to be the end of this mini arc, I really do hope they go into something that actually relates to the opening. Because the opening looks freaking amazing as far as the action sequence. And it looks even cooler than the last one that they had, which was already, I was super excited for, like, having the kids come back and they're working together fighting this crazy ice dragon deal. And now it's like they got Boruto utilizing the Rasengan. He's utilizing his eye power. He had like the little like Tanto blade that he was using during the opening, at least, which was just a reference to be like, he's learning from both his father and from Sasuke. But all that stuff looked cool, and they had like all the adults fighting, and they had, like I said, Konohamaru and stuff fighting. And I was like, man, watching that again, I was just like, I really freaking hope that somehow we get to see an actual story, and this isn't just like some BS wild epic looking opening that has like no relevance to the plot, because they did that last time and I was real disappointed because there was a lot of hope with the stuff they showed, like having the Sand Kids come back. So I'm like, they're showing off Naruto, Sasuke, Konohamaru fighting these people with like giant metal like gauntlets and stuff like that with claws on them and stuff, which oddly enough is somewhat reminiscent to what they're doing with the curse mark, except they aren't metal. Like, obviously it's just like giant, it almost looked like shell arms and stuff. So I'm like, I'm hoping that it's just a totally separate thing. It just happens to look the same, and that's not supposed to be the weird connection where it's different in the opening than it is in the show. But whatever they're doing, I hope it somehow gets at least half as cool as what they show just in the opening. So that's what I'm hoping. It seems like we're getting close to the end with this next episode with Jugo probably just destroying this doctor because he thinks he's so cool, and he'll probably survive for a little bit, but I think Jugo's going to beat him, and we might see him do like a full transformation. So hopefully his is cool, because his was a different color than like the kids. Like he had like accents of like red throughout his arm. I was like, okay, that's actually kind of cool. And I think his eye was even red, and like the kids had like different colors. So I think it'll be cool to see like the full body design if he does get a legit transformation, which I assume he will, and he'll have a much cooler version. Like the boy had one giant arm, one small arm, and the girl just had like the weird antelope velociraptor look going on. So hopefully his is like more symmetrical and looks cooler, and it's like closer to Jugo's thing where it's like, okay, that just looks pretty sweet, and it's like a cool symmetrical design all the way through because the power is completely balanced. So I'm hoping we get a cool design and we see Jugo's design come back, which of course is shown in the promo, but we'll see that, see him go up against the researcher guy, Tosaka or Tokasa. I think it's Tosaka. So hopefully we get to see like two cool designs fight it out in the next episode. They'll save the birds. It'll be fine. But hopefully we'll get some decent action in this one. If not, then that means they're just going to be expanding the filler out a little bit longer, and it'll probably be like in 2 or 3 more episodes. So ultimately we'll just end up seeing what happens. But I did enjoy this episode. Thought it was a decent action one. Of course, would love to know what you guys thought about it. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. And I would love to know how you guys want to see this like sort of filler segment end with, you know, as far as action or characters or anything like that. I would love to know how you guys would want to see it play out, considering it seems like it's just going to be Jugo beats the guy, and then Jugo basically coming down off of his high, or, you know, his madness is pretty much going to be like the final piece of the puzzle and trying to get him under control and saving the bird. So we'd love to know how you guys want to see it end. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.